Welcome to the Inspire Weight Loss Davy Podcast. Drug-free, sustainable, life-changing weight loss. Here's your host, Martha Savloff.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Inspire Weight Loss Podcast. Everyone, Happy New Year. It is 2024. I am your co-host, Jeremy Wolf, joined by, of course, your host, Martha Savloff. Martha, it's been a while since we've seen each other.
Happy New Year.
Woo-hoo-hoo.
My favorite holiday, honestly. I love the New Year for some reason.
I got to imagine it has a lot to do with what you do with your business and Inspire Weight Loss, because everybody tends to make New Year's resolutions and set up for a great and prosperous year. But I think oftentimes, and I'm guilty of this as many others are, the year comes around and we make all these resolutions to ourselves and we say we're going to do this, that, and the other. And then a lot of times, a month goes by, 2 months go by, and we're back to our same old habits, same old routines. So I thought, what a better time to talk about that topic and why it is that people tend to fail with all these resolutions that they make around the New Year's. So please enlighten us, share your expertise.
Yeah, this is definitely a hot topic for right now. And it's actually one that we all need to do. Like, life works in seasons, right? And so when we have the new year, it's like a new beginning, a new season, new opportunities. And I know it's just like the next day, but really it's about mindset, right?
Absolutely.
It's about mindset. So the New Year's resolution is getting like a bad rep. And that's because it's kind of known that the resolutions just roll over, like back in the day, minutes. Remember when minutes used to roll over for cell phones? Well, it's like resolutions just roll over to the next year. And then, years pass by and you're still writing the same thing. So I want to talk about why do resolutions often fail, because, man, that's happened to me. And I'm sure it's happened to most people that are listening or watching. So
it's called human nature, right? Like,
yeah,
we're creatures of habits, and forming new habits, especially as you get older, becomes more and more challenging. And you really got to be diligent to continue with that. Yeah.
And there's different reasons why, that happens in people's lives. And like, for example, the first one is, what's your driver? And we talk about that in Inspire Weight Loss, because your driver of wanting this resolution or this goal has to be deep. Because if it's not deep, then it's not important enough to do it. Like, you tend to push it to the side. Push it to, I'll start on Monday. I'll do this on Tuesday. Because then everything else takes precedence over that. So the first thing is what's your driver? Why is this important for you? Why are you writing this down as a goal and making sure that it's a good, deep driver? That makes sense?
Oh, absolutely. It's funny that you mentioned that. And yeah, it's so important to have a higher why in everything that you do. Mm-hmm. I was listening to a podcast yesterday. I think it was Joe Rogan and David Goggins. I went on a run. I was listening to a podcast, and Goggins was talking about how, and I say this all the time, everybody in society is looking for a quick fix. That's right. I want 7-minute abs. I want to get I'm overweight, so I want to get a tummy tuck. I want to do the surgery. But that stuff tends to not stick, because you're not putting in the work. You're not putting in the pain, the suffering. You're not doing what's required to stick with it. So when you actually go through the blood, sweat, and tears of the process to get better like that, you tend to create those habits that we talked about that keep you there and keep you moving forward. So and to do that, you absolutely have to have a higher purpose. It can't just be a surface level thing.
For sure, 100%. And it's like anything, how I say it to our clients, is like everything requires maintenance. You wash your car one time, that doesn't mean it's going to be clean for the rest of your life. You change the oil one time, doesn't mean that you're going to have fresh oil the rest. We're the same, So your driver for that goal has to be deep. And one of the things that our society does, and they use this word very frequently, but it's not that effective, is the word motivation. I need to be motivated to do this, or I need motivation. And you know what? The problem with motivation is that motivation comes and goes.
Yep.
Like you can be motivated today, you know, to go out and work, or go out and go for a run, but tomorrow you may not be. So what's going to happen? You're going to submit to not being motivated that day, just not do it, or you're going to be disciplined. And that's
it took the word out of my mouth.
Did I?
Well, yeah, no. You have to be disciplined, because discipline trumps motivation. If you're not motivated but you're disciplined, you'll still do the thing that you don't want to do, and that's what drives you to success.
And people cling to that word so much, motivation. I need motivation. I'm motivated. And really, that we need to change that word to discipline in order to really, you know, tackle goals and do things that we want to accomplish in life, in every aspect of our life, not just weight loss or, you know, our weight, right? Okay. So number 2, not setting the proper action steps. There's a saying that I don't dislike, but it's not, for me, is not true. And it's knowledge is power. That is, to me, that's just not true, because you can have knowledge of all sorts of things, but that doesn't mean you do anything with it. I feel like the proper is applied knowledge is power, right? So applied is an action. Apply is an action word. So, you know, you have these New Year's resolutions and you're like, yeah, I want to lose 20 pounds. I want to, you know, this and that. And it's like, okay, so like, what are you going to do to reach that goal? Like,
what's your plan? What are your action steps to get there?
They stop at the thought of the goal, but they don't take it to the next step, which is like properly setting goals or action steps, I should say, right? And it's not just like any action step. Oh, I'm going to start tomorrow and, you know, go run, whatever. It has to be like specific actions. Like one action has to have specific things. So what I mean by that, it's like, okay, so what's the action? What is the goal for number 1? Number 2, what's the action I have to take for that goal? Number 3, is that action measurable or not? Number 4, like, is it achievable? Like, I'm going to go run 5 miles tomorrow. There's no way I'm going to run 5 miles tomorrow. You know, it's like you have to have realistic, you know, action items, right? So make it like little small baby step action items. So make sure that you can get there. Is it relevant enough for you? And then time bound. Like give yourself time. Like I want to hit this goal. I want to achieve this goal with these action items and by this date. Yeah. That's what you want to do, because if it's just like I'm gonna lose 20 pounds this year, you know, and then there's nothing to back it up, guess what's gonna happen? That rollover I talked about earlier.
You'd be saying the same thing next year, but no, you'd be amazed, or people be amazed that haven't done this before. And I try to do it as much as I can, but I'm guilty as much as the next person. You tend to get overwhelmed by these big goals, but when you break things down into small incremental steps where you just do something very, very small daily, and you know, it could be a few different things. And after a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, where you start building those daily habits, and it becomes so second nature that you don't even have to think about it anymore. And you feel like, you know, it's not a task, it's not a chore anymore. It's something that you want to do. And you just kind of break it down into little pieces and build up from there. So.
For sure. I tell clients that you can train your body to do anything. You really can. The hard part is that people operate in emotion. So, for example, what do you feel like eating today? So you're basically allowing your body to tell you what to eat. But you have to flip that. You have to take control of your body and say, this is what I'm going to feed my body today. You see the difference? So if we are intentional about going about it that way, then we can train our bodies to do anything at all. You know, one of the things like we've talked about before is me waking up early in the morning. So I have to say, though, that was my 2023 New Year's resolution, was to wake up earlier, and I did it. It's not a rollover. I'm very proud of myself, but and that's a tough one for me. But yeah, it's like take control of yourself. Don't allow something else to be the driver or the decision maker. Don't let your body be the decision maker. You need to be the decision maker. What happens with your body? So yeah, you can train your body to do anything. Okay. Number 3, focus on the process, not the end result. So we've touched on that, right? Like they focus on the end result instead of the process, and that's where the action steps come in. Number 4, procrastination versus consistency. You know, and one of the things that I find that, listen, it's for real, Jeremy. Like, I get it. I'm guilty of it. Like, things become a priority before myself, you know, and one of the big ones is like employers, like, you know, employees are so busy and they have to work and they work long hours and this and that. And I get it 100%, but at what cost, right? You have to see, you know, create those boundaries that allow you to be a priority, because, you know, if you want to continue working that way, you want to continue taking care of your family and become a grandma and be able to run around with people, then you need to be, or run around with your grandkids, you need to be a priority, because if not, you're going to work yourself to the place that you're not going to be able to do those things. So one of the things, that's one of the reasons procrastination happens, is because, again, setting aside and making everything else a priority.
Yep.
Yeah. Number 5, support system.
Yes. Support is very, very key and integral to this process.
Yeah. I have to tell you, Jeremy, that at one point in my career, I was managing breast cancer centers. And, you know, we were seeing patients in the full spectrum, whether they're stage 1 to stage 5. And the ones that did the best with their treatments and they were able to go into remission and this and that, like what their process was, the end result was better, were the ones that had a great support system. That's how powerful it is, like community is, and having people around you that believe in you and are your cheerleaders. That's important.
Oh, 100%. If you go at it alone, it could feel like you're on a desert island stranded, especially when you're going through difficult times. It's so important to have a support system in place that can help you through this process in pretty much everything that you do, you know? And
yeah, think about it. Like, we're talking about New Year's resolutions, but I was just talking about like going through a journey of cancer. Like, that's major. And the studies show, and I lived it myself, I saw it myself, that people that had a great support system around them did much better through their journey of beating cancer. Imagine everything else.
Well, we're all energy, and we feed off energy, right?
Yeah.
So cancer is a negative manifestation, a negative energy. It's a disease that spreads through your body. So if you're around positive energy and positive support, that can do nothing but help your cause. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And the last point, Jeremy, be nice to yourself, and that's energy too, right? So what happens if people fail from their New Year's resolutions is because they're not believing in themselves. Like, if you don't believe it, if you don't believe that you can do it, conquer it, get it done, and do it for yourself, then you're not going to.
Yeah, we can be our own worst enemies. We don't give ourselves enough credit for the good things that we do. And we tend to focus on all the things that we mess up and all the poor mistakes we make. But you really have to flip the switch on that and look at it through a different lens and realize that everybody makes mistakes. Everybody has problems. And the best that you can do is learn from those mistakes and just do better moving forward and give yourself a break, right? Life is short.
And do that. I had to learn that myself because I was super critical about myself. I had kind of like overachiever, and that came from some kind of childhood trauma with my dad. And I I had some things that I had to work through. So that made me like super critical about myself and I had to like show him that I have the goods. And so then when I didn't do well, and I would mess up, I would be mean to myself. Like, and then when I did do well, it wasn't enough.
Mm. Yeah.
And then maybe it was enough, but am I supposed to be, celebrate myself? Am I supposed to be like, is that arrogant? No, no. In many things, I'm a badass, and it's okay for me to say that.
Okay. Absolutely, right?
I had to go through the process of being okay to do that, Jeremy. Like, I had to go through a process to be able to say, you know what, man, I nailed this thing. Yeah. So it's okay. One thing that's really cool that we tell clients to do is like to start a book of awesomeness.
Oh, I like that. Book of Awesomeness.
Yeah. So you write down on things that you kicked ass and you were awesome in, and that you nailed and you did well. And when you have a day that you're on a down and you're starting to think that you're not going to be nice to yourself, go to that little book, just a little tiny book that you can have with you, or you can put it in your notes on your phone, right? Whatever it is, and go to that book and read it. And so you can remind yourself of how many things you've accomplished and how badass you really are. And it's okay to have a bad day.
Yeah, it's going to happen. So, yeah. And I love that Awesomeness book. I've done in the past, journaling where I write down just 3 wins I had for the day. And it's funny when you start doing that, you find yourself kind of grasping, you're like looking deeply for those wins. And sometimes it's hard to find the wins. But what happens is, as you do that, like I talked about building these habits, after a week of doing it consistently, 2 weeks of doing it consistently, you start to, throughout your day, subconsciously look for those wins, because you know that you're going to need to record them later. And then by the time you get to the end of the day, you're like, oh my God, I have so many I can't even fit on the page. And you're just reprogramming and training your mind to move yourself forward for success. So yeah, lots of golden nuggets here, lots of good stuff. 2024 is going to be awesome. I am super excited.
It is going to be awesome. And I hope and pray that it's awesome for everybody that's watching or listening. You got the goods in you. Be your own cheerleader. Surround yourself with great people. And just forget about New Year's resolutions. Let's reword it to New Year's action. Let's just take action. Let's do the thing. Let's kill it. And let's celebrate.
All right. Sounds good. Martha, always a pleasure. Looking forward to seeing you again soon. And to our listeners, thank you as always for tuning in. We wish you a wonderful day and a blessed and prosperous 2024 of action and success.
Amen to that.
All right, everyone, take care.
Thank you for listening to the Inspire Weight Loss Davy podcast. To get your journey started, visit inspireweightloss.com or contact 954-837-8811.